Welcome to Creative Piecemeal. I'm Tammy Takeishi, a board-certified music therapist. Join me each week as a new guest from across the fine and creative arts spheres shares struggles, triumphs, laughs, words of wisdom, and more in authentic, thought-provoking, and inspiring interviews. Hello and welcome to Creative Piecemeal. Today I am joined by author Trilina Pucci. She's a #1 Amazon and USA Today Bestselling Author and is a connoisseur of pop culture and San Pellegrino. But her true passion lies in crafting tantalizing romantic novels that delve into the deeps of desire, emotion, and even hearty belly laughs. She is here on the show to talk about one of her latest books, One Killer Night. Trilina says, I can never write the same story twice, and it feels creatively stifling. I'm always looking for new ways to make a story feel fresh for me and the reader, and when I started brainstorming for new ideas, I was already on lock for comedy. But I wanted to explore more tropes and themes and genres that I could play with to create interesting and new stories for readers to enjoy. So I'm really excited. One Killer Night, it's a romantic comedy that blends romance comedy and psychological suspense. So I've read a little bit of it, haven't had a chance to read it all the way through, but definitely seems to me like it'd be the perfect summer read. So excited to have you on the show to talk about that. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. Before we dig into One Killer Night, I'd love to ask, how did you decide to become a writer? Was there someone or something or some particular book that inspired you?
You know, I wish I had a better answer, something that made me sound uber cultured or very well read. But the truth is that I became a writer surely based on pettiness. Before this, I used to be a professional dancer. And I was injured while on the job, and I had to come home and figure out what to do with my life. And during a dinner with 4 or 5 girlfriends sitting around a table, as you do, drinking copious amounts of wine, we were trying to replan my future and pick out things that you love to do to make a job. And one of them said, you love to yap, you should tell stories. Why don't you become a writer? And I started to laugh. We thought that was funny. And another friend said, no, she doesn't have the follow through. She never finished the book. And I was like, really? And it was out of that comment that I was internally bet. And so then I went off and I wrote a book.
There you go.
It's not the typical story, but it's the truth. And I love to tell it because she's one of my best friends. She just knows me well, that if I'm interested, I throw myself all in. And if I become uninterested, then, I won't finish the project. And it was kind of a dare. So I met the dare and found that I really loved writing. And maybe it's because I came from a creative field and I was in a creative field. It reminds me a lot of choreography. Mm-hmm. So just a different way to tell a story. Yeah. Nice. And that's how I started writing.
And, now you're an Amazon bestseller, USA Today bestseller. So
I Forrest Gumped my way right into it.
Yeah. Do you just take those plaques around to your friend's house and be like, look what you did?
I mean, I wear it on a t-shirt every time I see her. Yeah.
Be like, this is all your fault.
Look at my success. It's all your fault. Yeah. No, she couldn't be more proud, but I mean, it's a constant. She loves that I have to tell the story all over and over. She feels like I should say her name so she can get real credit for being a true friend. But I'm going to deny her that for life.
There you go. In true friendship style.
In true friendship style. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Gretchen.
So you briefly mentioned that you used to dance, and, I'd love to hear more about that creative synthesis between dancing, choreography, and what you've learned in that world and how you brought that into the writing world.
Yeah, I love that question, actually. So I grew up a dancer my whole entire life. It wasn't, I'm older, so I'll be, I like to say that I'm a fully fledged grown up at this point in my life. But when I started dancing, it was back in the late 80s, 90s. And so it was a lot of just kind of hanging out with other people and going to dance classes and, honing your craft that way. It's not kind of how it is now where you see on the reality TV shows of people going on these shows to learn how to dance, or the dance moms of it all. That wasn't the culture back when I was growing up. It was about creative people getting in a room and just making each other better. Mm-hmm. And I kind of thrived off of that. I loved it. And so when I went off to LA, as one does, to become a professional dancer, and I ate top ramen for a year, I struggle. But I think that you have to love what you do so much. But so much of dance is creating stories with your body. That's what you're doing. You're just creating a story for people to visually watch. So we are set on stage as somebody singing a song that you identify with because of the words. We're setting those words into a visual behind you. And they're so complementary with each other. And I found that with writing. I mean, I utilize music a lot in that way when I write. I have to have a playlist together before I can even write the book. It has to be very specific to the chapter. Sometimes there are times when very specific songs that I go to evoke emotion for myself. But it feels, like I said, it feels like choreography in a way that when I'm writing, every word that I'm using, every sentence that I'm setting up, every joke that I'm telling, every kind of tone that you're setting just feels like something that you're using in choreography to portray an entire story. It's not just about telling the story itself, but it's about, I mean, obviously, I write romance novels, right? So people tend to think of romance novels as spicy, right? That's the word they like to use. And I always say that the setup for what you're supposed to feel in those spicy scenes happens like 4 chapters before, where just benign words take a sexual tone to start to it's the way he picks up a glass or the stare that happens it's all that kind of stuff. And all of that is choreography that's setting a much bigger picture. So it kind of it feels natural and organically fused, in my opinion.
You're one of the first authors whom I've interviewed who's been a dancer. And I really love that you have that background and the way that you describe writing, because that is so true. I mean, like, I've not really thought of it that way, but yeah, everything, whether it's subconscious or conscious, is set up and meticulously placed.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're watching a show, especially, when there are dancers on stage, everything is kind of scripted for you. It's like scripted for the experience. And so there really isn't a difference in the way that I sit down and I view a story as a whole and how it's kind of this being that's being scripted for an experience for every reader. It felt seamless to go from one to the other.
It sounds like you had a pretty, I won't say easy writing experience, but enjoyable writing experience with One Killer Night.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that it was difficult writing experience. And I wouldn't say that it was difficult at all, actually. Writing, I've been incredibly lucky during my career that I think because I started as an indie author, there isn't any kind of pressure or kind of strategic branding to put me into like a category for people and then keep me in the category, which often happens so often in traditional publishing, which is great. It makes sense for readers, makes sense for, I understand all of it. But because I was kind of left to my own devices, I was able to write all around. So I got to really find my voice. So by the time I was ready for this particular industry and ready for the challenge, because each industry comes with its own challenges, when I was ready for the challenge of this industry, I felt like I really knew my own voice. So it was very enjoyable and it wasn't difficult at all either. Like I kind of sat down and I knew exactly what I wanted to write, what the movie played out in my head like. And so to write it was incredibly enjoyable. Yeah. The characters are funny. Yeah.
Without giving away any spoilers, what was one of your favorite parts of One Killer Night to write?
Okay, so I really like the meet cute, and I don't feel like that's a spoiler at all because it happens in the beginning of the book. So I really liked how offbeat it was. And also kind of how, I mean, it's unrealistic, but also like, I feel like it's fairly relatable. Like it could happen. It could really happen. You could be in a dinosaur costume at a Walgreens. You never know. And so I loved that. Like that felt like that was really fun to write. And I kind of left myself in it it's the thing that I wrote for the longest because I enjoyed it so much that I kept kind of tweaking every little detail to make sure it was perfect before I moved on. And then I really, really loved the twist at the end. And you haven't gotten there yet. So
no, I haven't gotten there yet. No.
But I really I enjoyed writing a twist because just the process of making sure that you're planting the right seeds and that you're, setting people up to think one thing or, and it's not like, I loved the plotting of that. That was really fun.
I enjoy writing as well. And I remember an early draft of my very first full-length novel. I mean, I'm not published or anything, but I just enjoy writing. And I remember writing a twist that I was so excited and giddy over because I felt almost like an evil writer cackle.
Yeah, yeah.
Coming on wah, look what I've done for the reader.
Yeah.
And then I remember my friend reading it and she's like, this twist is only for shock value. It makes no sense. And I had to go back and I changed things around and it made more sense later, to really reimagine the purpose and the intent behind the twist. It can't just be for my own gratification.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that you're saying this because it was something that when I started writing the book, I do a very loose plot for a book. So I know how it begins. I know how it ends. I know kind of big pieces that happen in the middle, right? Like maybe the biggest dark point, the big point in the middle, everybody goes, oh, but other than that, I give myself a lot of freedom around those pieces. And so with this, I needed to plot it a little bit more because I needed to know how to that twist should happen because one of my favorite twists of all time is in the movie The Sixth Sense. And the greatest thing about that twist is that when you get to it, you're so shocked, but then also you're like, it was literally in front of us all along. And yet we just all skipped over it because it would. And I just loved it. And so when I started plotting out this twist, I kept thinking about The Sixth Sense so much, like how you can put so many things in front of people and you can even they could have a big neon sign behind them. And if you are very smart, if you're very smart about the way that you dive dodge, right? Nobody will see it coming. And they'll be able to look back and be like, whoa, it was laid out the whole time. And so that's what I went for. And that's what seems to be happening so far. So good. Yeah.
And
I'm sure there'll be a ton of people that are like, I saw it coming, and good for you. I love that for you. I think there's a thrill in that to be able to say to when people are looking for it and they can then figure it out and they get excited about that. There's an excitement in that too. But I do know that I manipulated the entire time as I was doing it and I loved it.
did you have to have like maps and flow sheets? Like, how did you manage that creatively?
No, I didn't actually. It just all stayed in my head. As I was going, it was kind of like a long running notes app because it made so much sense to me. Once I knew how I was going to do it and I knew how I wanted it to end, then I looked for ways as I would go. And I would be like, oh, this is perfect here. And then I would add tiny little things and tiny little crumbs everywhere. And they were just, oh gosh, it was like, you just have to water it just enough so that nobody sees it blooming. That's it. Like it just looks like it was great. And so, yeah, no, I didn't do that. It was my most favorite part. And the second book that comes out after One Killer Night, it's two different couples, but the story the story doesn't continue on. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just two different couples, it's an interconnected standalone. That's the word I was looking for. But in the second one, I got to the end of the book thinking I was doing one thing and realized all along I had been setting up a different villain. And that was fun. That one did that was when I went, whoa, hold on. And I had to go on my wall and put Post-it notes all over with all of the things that I had done. And there must have been 100 Post-it notes where I could stand back and look and go, okay, how did I do that? And I didn't even notice it myself. So I know nobody will get that twist because I didn't even know it was coming.
Nice. I love the way our brains work. It's so beautiful when in that way, right?
Sometimes I feel like I'm just kind of like a co-pilot and you kind of have to get out of your own way and just kind of let this beauty of it happen,
Mm-hmm. So, you jumped from being an indie author to traditionally published. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What has been and I know everyone's experience is different, but what has been your experience like in both those camps? And do you have advice for people wanting to go the indie route first?
Yeah, I think that indie publishing is an incredible opportunity for new writers. It's kind of like, in a way, kind of like a step back in time when people got to work on the job, right? That's how they learned their craft, was on the job. There's something so beautiful and important learning that way. You learn in a way that it's almost impossible to learn any other way, right? Like just taking a class or, listening to somebody tell you about your craft. It's incredible to get your hands dirty. And that's what you get to do. Now, there are a lot of mistakes that happen, right? And you don't get to, some people could argue that when you're setting out in a career, you want to be smart in the way that you strategize that career, right? And you'll make a lot of mistakes that way in indie publishing because you might change your voice, but it's an incredible way to find your voice and to, make a little bit of money while you're doing it. Because I will say that indie authors or indie audience can be a little bit more forgiving than any other audience when they know you're very new. So I love that aspect of it. I will say that for me, it just became about time. I got to a point in my indie career that I felt like I had hit a level of success that I truly just didn't know how to continue. And I didn't know how to keep afloat. Not just continue, but, you kind of plateau after every release. And I didn't know how to keep those things afloat. And I was tired of figuring it out on my own. And I wanted, a bigger backer. Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. So, and I really love the collaboration that I get with the editors and the editing and the proofing and the copy editing and all of that stuff that comes from working in traditional publishing. I found that it's helped me even become a better writer than I was. So, I mean, I think that there's value to both of those. But, being an indie author can be, I mean, if you have a large amount of people that listen to this that are new writers and they're actually looking into I will tell you that if you want to be a successful indie author, like I'll cut to the chase. If you want to be a successful indie author, you do have to have money. And that's the truth. It takes a lot of money to invest. You can walk in and try to sell your book and try to talk to enough people. But, the baby step game is incredibly hard. And it's become fairly saturated. So you do have to walk in and know that you're going to have to you're going to have to save up before you get in there so that you can come in with a little bit of money to run an ad or two, or buy a really good cover, or work with somebody who's kind of trending in the indie market that does beautiful covers to give yourself, or work with an audio company, or produce your own audio, which is incredibly expensive. All of those things take funds. So there's a big cavern between those who come into the market, and it got bigger and bigger as the indie market exploded. I've been there for like 10 years. So when I started, people told me it's so hard to make it big right now. It's so difficult. And I was like, oh, okay. And then 10 years later, what do they say? It takes 10 years to like become an overnight success. Right. So like it was, being in there like 9-10 years now, this is when I've kind of hit my stride, and I can say that I'm hitting that kind of success, but it doesn't come without hard work and incredible hustle. Incredible. Like you have to beat the pavement all the time. There's no sleep for you. You are on your phone dancing for everyone all the time. So I think people have to walk in with like an open mind, but it can be an incredible place to be. And it can be an incredible place to be and never go traditionally, but like never turn trad. You can stay as an indie published author and be incredibly successful forever. A lot of people do. And, I love it for them. I just am inherently a little bit more tired. Right? And I would like to relax a little bit. And I don't mind I don't mind other people collaborating in that, like they choose the cover and show it to me and I get to decide if I like it. Right. Like I don't want to have to pick everything or be in charge of everything anymore. But I do love the collaboration you get from trad publishing. Is honestly, it's been the most incredible part of this journey. Like I really love my editor. And she's the ideas and being able to, bounce off thoughts with someone who is as excited about words as you are. I have loved that, capital L.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like getting, not that you don't have a community as an indie author, but it's almost like getting an extra team, an extra community.
You know what it is? You have a community as an indie author, but you have an inner circle when you're trad. And that's what feels different. It feels like you have kind of like your people. And they are there for your success, and everyone is like-minded about your book and excited about what's happening for you. It feels like we all have a piece of ownership in this little project, and we all want it to do the best possible. And the indie community has a large community, but we're all there as indies, right? There's not, and so it's really nice to know that when I ask my editor a question, or I ask, there are people that know a little bit more than me or have been around for a little bit longer. Like we're not all in the same boat, But I think that people should try out. I have loved every bit of being an independently published author. And I think that everyone should try it at least once, because it is a different way to publish, and I think it could make traditionally published authors better if they had to do it once. And I think doing it the other way, like just seeing both sides, is immeasurable. Yeah.
I was wondering, you write romance, and then you've got this new book out, and you're indie and traditionally published, but and I'm sure you've gained quite a following since then, over these years. So what is something that people who might be familiar with your books, familiar with your work, might not know about you or your writing style?
If they haven't read my books yet, then I would say that my writing style is, I'm banter heavy. So I'm conversation heavy in all my books. All of the important stuff is in the conversations that happen between people. I also try to write them incredibly relatable. So I try to write them the way people actually speak, because I love it when I can read something like that and I go, I was going to say that. I love having that thought in my head when I'm reading a character. So I strive to do that. And I think what helps to do that as well is that I dictate my books. So, and I type them out a lot too, but for the most part, I set down the story itself from beginning to end, or each chapter at a time, by dictating it. So I just kind of pace in my office and I act it out like it's a play. And it's super disconcerting for the people outside of my office to listen to me, because I sound cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And it's true. Like you will hear me, and if you don't know that I'm dictating a book, it sounds like I'm just having this wild argument with myself that sometimes is like inappropriate for other people to hear, and or scary, it's like what's happening in our office. Yeah, I do. I dictate it. And then I sit down and type it out, because sometimes the things that I think up in the quiet part of my mind are completely different than the things that I would think up out loud.
That brings me to a question about your creative process. What is one thing that you absolutely love about it? And what is something that you find to be super frustrating about the creative process?
I love the creation of the story. So like thinking up the story, I'm the kind of person who has to, like, personality wise, I speak everything into existence. So I'm the kind of friend that if I'm talking about wanting to go to Paris, right, then I will talk all about Paris to you. Like, okay, so if I went to Paris on a Monday, right, like I'll hash those dates out with you forever before I even buy the ticket, right? I'm one of those. And I do that with stories too. So when I come up with them, I usually call my PA and I'm like, I have this cool idea. You want to hear it? And I will tell her that story in different versions, kind of over the next 3 or 4 weeks, over and over in different times. Like, so I was thinking at this part, we should change. Like, I should do this. Or like, and I say we a lot to her, which she always thinks is funny because she's like, we are not writing this. But I'm like, we should have like this here. Don't you think? Like, I just love like telling the story, right? I love that part of it. The thing that I hate the most is a deadline. That's the truth. It gives me hives. And I'm like, oh, but I hate the finishing part of the story, honestly. Like I read once in, I think it was like a Times article about, I was reading somebody else talking about their writing or something. And it was, they said that the difference between people who write as a hobby and like a writer, right? Somebody who just like likes to write, and an author is finishing the book. Because most people, there are 1,000 people, millions of people who have unfinished stories. But a real author finishes their book, right? Like and it always kind of stuck with me that I was like, it sounded a little elitist, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, give me a break. But like also in my head, I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish the stories, right? So I sat and I finished those stories. And it also reminded me of what Gretchen said. So like I finished my stories. But the finishing the story part is always the worst part. I mean, I would say like the last 20,000 words of a book, they take me the longest to write. Because I want to be done. Because in my head, I'm done. I've already gone there. I already know how it ends. I'm already done. Like I'm over it. So now I just want to go watch TV.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other people are really excited about the end because then it's like, woof, I've accomplished it.
I know. I've started doing this thing though now lately because I know that I drag at the end or I speed it up. Like I'll go as fast as possible because I want to get done. And then I'm like, okay, that was really fast. Like I rushed that. So I started doing it that I write the end first. So that I'm forced to slow down because then I have like the last chapter kind of written and that last chapter doesn't, like the whole book, every chapter is, like 5,000 words. And then you get to the end. And if it were up to me, it'd be like 250 words. Like I'd be like, I'm done. Like I'm finished with it. But like so now I start to write it out first and then I'm forced to kind of stick to it and like make it longer and beef it up. And yeah.
What are, I guess, some of your favorite romance tropes and a romance trope that just bothers the crap out of you?
I feel like I'm always the minority in that. Okay, I love a good enemies to lovers. If they hate each other before they fall in love, oh my gosh. Because I secretly love all things toxic. Now, I have the healthiest of marriages, okay? And I am I love my own mental health, but I love it when everybody's spiraling into toxicity. I will eat it up with a spoon. I love it. So, I mean, like I love a cheating trope and I don't think people like that, but I love it. Write it for me. I love terrible things like that. Things you love triangles. Oh, eat it up with a spoon. I love it. Like if they're angsty and no one can choose, I will be here for 700 pages, just reading. I love it. But then if my husband can't decide when we're eating on a Tuesday, I'm like, make up your mind already. Jeez Louise. I love all things like that. But then I also read a lot of just regular fit. Like I read non-romance too. I also, which is, you can't do this in a romance, right? Everything has to have a happily ever after. But if someone comes along and I don't listen, the whole romance community is about to get mad at me. I'm not telling them they should do it. I'm just saying they can give it to me. I love that ending when they're like, it's an unorthodox happily ever after. It's an unorthodox ending. I'm like, woo, give it to me. Like, I don't mind it if they both die at the end. I'm okay. I'm fine. Yeah. So like, I loved my last favorite book that the last book I read really, because I've been writing for so long, but was The Wedding People. Have you read this book? Oh, it's so good. It's has like a romantic theme, but it's not a romance. And that was the last book I read and I really, really loved it, but it's really unexpected. And, I'm here to promote my own book, but I'm like, everybody go read The Wedding People. It's really good.
I definitely I love reading romances, and one of my personal faves is Catherine Center, and I don't know if you're familiar with her.
I am.
Love her. And she's been on the show, but she's the kind of book where even though there's going to be a happy ending, I'm still crying as I read those books. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love a good cry. Like, I don't always like to cry. Like, I feel like my book tastes are a little bit closer to like my movie tastes, which like trend more towards like an app. Like, I'm super stoked to watch Happy Gilmore. Like, I I want to laugh all the time. Like, I want to be taken out and put into fantasy. Sometimes I have trouble reading things that are too like rooted in reality. I love them, but if they feel like my house on a Wednesday, like people are taking out the garbage and maybe talking about the power bill, I don't necessarily want to read that. Like, I want you to give me something maybe a little bit more fantasy based. Like, I'm totally cool if he's a billionaire. That's cool. I don't necessarily like, is he in the mafia, but he has a heart of gold? Aw, you know what I mean? I'm all for it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, like that escapism, like
Yeah.
everybody needs that nowadays.
Well, I think it's valid. Like, and I also think the other books are super valid, right? Like, people sometimes like to read things that are relatable to their lives. And they like to experience, because those books are incredible when you're going through something, or if you just want to feel, and you can use those characters and those stories to just kind of like, you walk like a paralleled life with them and you can use them to feel. I think that's beautiful. I just want to feel silly.
You didn't happen to mention, and that's okay, you don't have to, but you didn't happen to mention a trope that you don't care for.
Oh, that's a good catch. I was trying to avoid that one. Let's see.
You don't have to answer it.
Thank you, Oprah, for catching me. Yeah, I am not huge on this. I feel like this is more of a genre, but people do use it as a trope. I don't love like small town romances, even though I feel like that's more of a genre. But I also don't love age gap, which is wild because that's a really popular thing. But I don't love age gap. I don't know why. Maybe it's because, I'm a fully fledged adult, remember? Like, maybe I don't want to think about, because my version of an age gap, I am also one of those kind of readers that when you're reading, there are different kinds of readers, but I'm one of those kind of readers that self-inserts so I love to read people my age, right? Like, because I kind of picture them in my age. But now as I've become more of a writer, I actually remove myself from the story altogether and just read it as just like I'm watching a movie. I've become a different kind of reader, but I used to be kind of so I don't think that I wanted that, because my age gap would be in the typical age gap that people have. I mean, he would be like 75, and I'm not ageist. I say, go get yours. But I also know what my dad looks like. I don't want to date my dad. Like, I don't want to do that. So I can't do it. Yeah.
I can understand like a small age gap, like 5 years, 10 years, maybe even 15, but like over that, it would be harder for me to find it a believable story.
See, I read somewhere that it has to be over 10 years to be considered an age gap. And for me, 10 years doesn't even feel like an age gap. Like, if you're 30 and he's 40, that just kind of feels samesies to me. Like, it doesn't feel like, like you might have a few cultural references but I feel like you kind of understand each other. So anytime I've seen like an age gap online, it's been like almost 20 years. So I always think to myself, like I said, I'm almost 50 years old. So I don't personally want to picture myself 70 years old. So I don't want to read that, but I don't have a problem with it in real life. You guys do what you want to do. I don't judge.
What is something that you've learned between your first book and your current book in terms of your writing style, your writing process? And is there anything that you're most proud of about your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I start with I'm proud of stuff, because I am really proud that I took a lot of risks as a new author when I started independently. And I tried out different genres, like writing different genres. I started off, I think, when I wrote my first book, I jumped on a trend. Like, I was like, oh, that's what people like, so this is what I should write. And it was after that I thought, I don't want to do that. I want to write what I want to write. And so I didn't know what that answer was, though. Like, what do you want to write then? I don't know. And so I just took a chance and started writing different things to see what I liked. And so I'm proud of myself for taking that risk and teaching myself a really important lesson, which is if I don't want to write the story, then it's never going to sell. That's the truth. Like, it has to feel authentically from me. I need to storytell. I need to feel like a storyteller to be a good writer. I just can't put things out for people because it's good marketing or it's a good career plan. I can't do it. So I learned what I wanted to do, and then I stuck to it. And I'm the most proud that I took the chance to write comedy, because that's not what I started off doing. It was nice jumping into that and giving myself the opportunity to try to be funny on paper. And I think that those are also things that I found out about myself as a writer. Like, I had a very specific voice in the beginning. Like, I always kind of wrote the way I spoke, right? But in the beginning, I don't think I really understood how to be complete, like the storyteller that I am now. I relied on cliche, which is not bad, but I relied on a lot of cliches for like my male characters. And I worried a little bit too much about like, am I making him too mean and not redeemable? Am I making like, and even though I wanted to lean in more, I wouldn't, because I was always trying to toe some kind of line. I wanted to like please everyone or appease the audience. It's, that didn't like certain things. And now this is the story that I want to tell. Like I learned how to be brave enough to tell the story that I knew I wanted to tell, and know that the trick in marketing or in marketing your book is just to find the right audience. Write your story. There is an audience for it. So I think that those are the things that I learned, that, when someone says, no, audiences don't love that. Yeah, they do. Just find them. Like, that's okay. Like there's someone for everyone's story.
Yeah, definitely agree. Definitely agree. And like, at least for me, like, even though I'm not published, like, I feel like you have to be true to yourself and just write like what you want and what you have inside of you, and then just see where it lands, because like you said, there's going to be someone out there wanting your story. It's just a matter of finding that audience.
Well, it's like, you learn how to separate yourself from the story too, right? Like I'm sitting here and I'm writing it and I'm thinking, worrying about if people are, if I'm writing a love triangle and I'm worried that people are going to feel redeemable to the audience, I'm worried about being judged by an audience. I'm not staying authentic to the story that needs to be told. And so there's something about being that kind of ambassador of your story that you have to get very strict and set those boundaries. And so now I do. And I learned that was a learned activity over time, that now I'm kind of brave enough that I guard like I guard like a soldier, like nobody's getting near that. This is the story I'm going to tell, and I'm not going to change it. And that's it,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'd love to go back to talking about how you said you have playlists for your books. I'm the same way. Like I have playlists for all the manuscripts I've ever written. And do you ever get an idea for a story because of a song, or because you've just randomly put together a playlist and you're like, oh, this sparks something? Or tell me a little bit more about the relationship with the playlist and the stories.
Yeah, like, so for One Killer Night, actually, I imagined their entire meet cute because I was listening to These Dreams by Heart. And it was just on this random playlist that I had on my phone. And it came on, and, like I said, I'm old enough to have, grown up with Heart, right? So like, I love it. And it was playing in the background. And I thought in my head, as I was hearing it, like I was kind of humming to myself, and it felt like, cause it was just down low enough as I was like cleaning my office, that it felt like a song that would be played now in like a Walgreens or a CVS. Like you would hear it as you were like picking out your vitamin D or whatever, and I thought that was funny. It would sound like a grocery store song now. Right. And I thought, so I was about to stage that to my husband, like, oh my gosh, I think I've graduated into listening to grocery store songs now. And as soon as I thought it, I was like, huh. And I just kind of paused, like I glitched, and I just stood there in place. And that whole scene came to life when they meet in the Walgreens, and it was playing overhead. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And I wrote it down on a Post-it, like, so I wouldn't forget it. And then I finished doing whatever I was doing. And then I came back and I wrote that scene. And so that was the first song that went on the playlist. And then after that, it was pretty, some of them are, real on the nose, right? Like Psycho Killer, or Murder on the Dance Floor, or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously writing a thriller. So some of these are like, but like, I would have like, my son would, send me rap songs that he thought would be good for different things. Or like, like I have like Kendrick Lamar on there, like, Not Like Us, for a specific scene in the book. And I love it. Like everything kind of sparks music evokes emotion, and there's emotion in every single scene you write. So I don't know. I don't think I could ever not write with it. I've never tried it. I never will. I can't imagine what would come out of me if I didn't have it. It feels intrinsic to the entire process.
Are you the kind of author that would be willing or does share all or parts of your playlist once your books are released? Or
they go inside of it. So as soon as you open it up, it's inside. So I think on the ebook, it's on like, you have to, all ebooks open to like the first chapter or whatever. If you go back, there's like an author's note and all kinds of funny stuff that I say before that. And the playlist is there. And then on the paperback, the playlist is included. Oh. I love it when people put the playlist on and then read the book.
Yeah.
I usually try to make it the exact number. For a couple of books, I've made it like, if there's 29 chapters, there are 29 songs, and each song is for the chapter that you're reading.
I love that. I love that because I feel like it really makes it almost like a movie. You know, I remember telling a friend of mine, I said, I wish I could, when I publish one day, have a little like footnote that says, start this song when you
On this, yeah.
on this page at this sentence.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that would be incredible. Like, I mean, it heightens the entire experience when you're reading, you know? So, I mean, but there's also a lot of songs on my personal playlist that I can't, like, I use the instrumental for like Scream, the movie Scream, for like one of the scary parts. I use that instrumental for like every part that I wrote that was happening in the dark, which I don't recommend to any author to write a part that happens in the dark to scary music at nighttime. Because I think that I was so afraid. Like, there were so many nights when I had to call my husband and be like, I would call him from my office and be like, baby, come and get me. And he's like, you're down the hall. And I was like, come and get me. I can't walk back by myself. I'm terrified. Like, I couldn't.
You spooked yourself.
Yeah, I spooked myself a lot. Yeah.
Oh, that's how you know you've done a good
job,
right?
I wanted to feel spooky. Yeah, I did a good job, but I managed to scare myself to death.
A couple more questions. I would love to know if you could be any fictional character for a day, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. Any fictional character. Oh my gosh. Who would I be? I'm going through I'm literally looking at my entire bookcase back there to see what character I would be, because there are so many cool characters. And it doesn't have to be somebody I wrote, right?
Anybody, yeah.
Sherlock Holmes.
Ooh, okay, now why?
For sure. Okay, his life is fantastic. It's gifted, right? Like, he sees everything that's going to happen before it even happens. Everybody's asking him to solve another mystery, another crime, right? I would love that life, and I love that time period. So, like, set in London, solving a crime, that would be so cool.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wearing like tweed, that would be incredible.
There's this really adorable YA. I want to say it's a quartet of books. Yeah. By Brittany Cavallero. I don't know if you've read them, but it's basically like the premise is Sherlock Holmes's granddaughter and Watson's grandson, or vice versa. They team up together at boarding school and they solve like mysteries and murders.
How cute is that? Did they loosely base the little Millie Bobby Brown Netflix or Amazon Prime movie off of those?
That I don't know, because I don't watch
TV.
Any TV. I have no clue.
I feel like I'm doing this career backwards. I feel like I maybe should have been a screenwriter.
I mean, like, what's stopping you, right?
Well, nothing. I never know, guys. But because I feel like I know more like movies. I read all the time, but still, well, not lately because I've been having to work so much, but like I read all the time, but I know like movies, everything comes to me kind of like a movie. So I wonder if they were, but those sound interesting. I love that. I love YA books too. Yeah.
I will after the episode text you the author name.
That would be great.
Because like I devoured them. I mean, they came out, I want to say like pre-pandemic / during, if I'm remembering right. And I just devoured them. And I'm not a big YA reader. I'm actually more of like adult or new adult or like classics reader specifically. But they just really gripped me. I really liked it. So if you're a fan of Sherlock Holmes, I think you'd really enjoy it.
Okay, I'll try it out. I love it. Yeah, I do love YA books though, because I have a 12-year-old, and so we try to buddy read sometimes together.
Oh, that's lovely.
I do. I want to get her into that kind of stuff. My son and I buddy read the paper on Sundays. That's what I get him to read.
Oh, cute.
He reads the kids sections of the time.
So we talked a lot about, your love of movies, but you haven't really mentioned any. So what is a movie that says a lot about you?
Oh, okay. Actually, I'm going to go with this. One of my favorite movie of all times. Okay, like top 3 movies, but I think this is the number 1 movie of all time, is an old movie called The Burbs with Tom Hanks. It is about a group of people who live in a cul-de-sac. Okay, right there, that sets it up. Like, because cul-de-sacs always have this, there's only one way in and one way out. Like, it has this kind of strange culture in itself, right? Like, everyone's always outside, or the kids always play. Like, it has a strange culture that other streets don't have. So already it's set up. So they live in this cul-de-sac, and it's like these people move into one of the houses next door to Tom Hanks, and they are a creepy, creepy family, and nobody knows what they do. And, visually they're creepy. Like, everybody looks like a funeral attendant. Like they're all dressed in black all the time. Everybody's very pale, like they don't go outside. So it's like a lot of neighbors just basically snooping on the new neighbors. And I love the dynamics of community that happens. I love the banter and the humor that happens. I love the hijinks that happen. I love that movie so much. And anytime Tom Hanks has like a full breakdown in a movie and starts screaming and yelling, I think it's the most hysterical thing. And so I love that movie.
I love Tom Hanks, but I have not seen that movie.
It's old. Like you have to, the film quality is not going to be great anymore, but it's some of the funniest. And obviously, I just want to say disclaimer for anybody that is of today's thinking, as well you should be. You may be offended by a few things in the movie because it literally came out in the 80s, right? Like nobody knew any better and wild stuff was coming out of everyone's mouth. But it is definitely a movie set in the 80s, and the shorts are very short on everyone, and they are hilarious. I mean, I can't really think of anything that's terrible. I can't think off the top of my head of anything that I need to like trigger warn anyone about, like, hey, blah, blah, blah. But it's so funny. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I crack up. I lose it every time. I just think it's the greatest kind of like comedic timing and sarcasm and mixed with a little bit of scary, which makes sense why I would write a book like One Killer Night. Like now that I'm thinking about it, it's all of those things. It's a thriller where you're like kind of holding your breath, like what is about to happen, but then it's like just hilarious off the wall stuff. Oh, I love it.
Excellent. I will definitely have to check that out.
I don't even know if you can find it online anymore.
It might be one of those like very hard to find movies then, huh?
Yeah, I don't even know if they have it anymore, but I literally kept an old DVD player just so that I could keep the DVDs of them, of like some old movies, because they don't like have them on iTunes or any Amazon, like anywhere you can buy them, stream them.
There's a good reason to keep DVD players around sometimes, you know?
I love it. I just dust it off and pull it out when I want to watch them.
There you go. Well, before we go, anything else you would like the readers to know about you or One Killer Night or anything else?
I mean, I don't know. This feels like a sale. Like, I'm like, okay, guys, listen up. I mean, I saved all the good words for this book, so everyone should go out and buy it and have a good time. It's why I write books like this. It's why I write. I just, I don't think that I'm writing anything that's going to change anyone's life, but it'll certainly change your night. Like it should be a good time that you can share with friends and family. Well, maybe not all family, but I don't know. Grandma might be into it, but I think that it's fun for everyone. So I hope that people enjoy it.
Excellent. Well, Trilina, thank you so much for being on the show. Listeners, please check the show notes for where to purchase or pre-order, depending on when you're listening to this episode. And please support indie authors, traditional authors, hybrid published authors. Just go out there, support authors, indie bookstores, etc., etc. Give those pre-orders. Give those reviews because authors really, really rely on them no matter what their journey is. Pre-orders and reviews make a huge difference. And as always, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Creative Piecemeal. We hope today's episode left you feeling inspired. This podcast is independently created and produced by the host, Tami Takaishi. More details about today's guest can be found in the show notes, along with links to the podcast's socials, merch store, and ways to support arts organizations AHA Broadway and New Normal Rep, both near and dear to Tammy's heart. Don't forget to visit creativepiecemeal.com, the official podcast website, where you can leave fan mail, write a review, explore Tammy's blog, and discover the growing collection of episodes. Special thanks to our audio engineer, Alex Rapetti. Additional narration by Dante Jace. Let's keep celebrating creativity in all its forms.